All right. Hello, everybody. Here it is. Welcome every single person who is on the stream today. It's gonna be a big day because this marks the start of the Newcomers Mania World Cup 2025, which is also the first edition, which would be a tournament for players from all around the countries, all around the world, from 25 ranks to infinite. They would be competing as a region-based team together in different map pools together. And of course, to start off, we have what we call a Qualifiers map pool, which determines our seedings, each team's seedings, I should say. So, if you're not familiar with the tournament style, in a bit we'll explain the tournament scene or the tournament system bit by bit. But yeah, right now, today, we would be streaming the Qualifier Showcase, and of course, I would be your commentator today, Popy. With me is Lott and the Czar. Say hello, you two.
Hello, everyone. It's me again.
It's time to disintegrate. Do you know what disintegrate means? If you don't, it's okay. You will know that feeling soon, very, very soon.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. Yes, you know, this is a relatively lower ranked tournament, so a lot of players might be a little bit inexperienced in tournaments, and that's completely fine. We welcome every single player to play.
I think basically experience is actually the point. We are actually cultivating potential players in the tournament scene through this tournament, so everyone is welcome. However, that doesn't mean that we will be kind. In fact, it might be the opposite. We're sorry. Or not.
Yeah. Alright. So, basically this map, Qualifiers map pool, is gonna have a total of, I believe, 6 maps. We have... Is it 6 maps? Wait. Yeah, it's 6 maps.
6 maps, yeah.
So we have
Should be kind of a similar format to the tryouts, though there will be a bit of like mix-ups. I think you guys are familiar with the Rice LN hybrid SV order already. However, for this specific map pool and per traditional qualifiers, the SV slot will be the first map of the map pool.
Yeah, we have our first stage of the qualifiers. This is mapped by Haru. This is Ardov's Will You. This is going to be our SV pick. For those who don't know what SV is, it's basically a more interesting gimmick map where you see scroll speeds being changed over time. You will see some bumps in terms of the notes speed. You see, if you haven't seen any of the SV maps, but you take a look. It's pretty interesting.
SV stands for slider velocity, but I think a more intuitive and mania-friendly way to put it is scroll variation or speed variation. It makes more sense. It just does. You know soon, and let's play the replay now. Your modern SV will contain these kinds of like a mix of very small, very short changes in speed, so it creates these kinds of teleport-esque effects. So it looks kind of like your map is lagging, but it's actually not. It's there to disorient you.
We're starting off with these little teleports here. This is like the main core of an SV map. You just see the nodes suddenly stopping but then teleporting for no reason. It seems random, but it's basically the core idea of an SV map. You see, you kind of have to memorize. No, not. I mean, sometimes it's memorized, sometimes it's just simply knowing the rhythm of the map, I guess, or the song.
Yeah, I think there are like 2 main parts in SV. Usually people know it as reading and memorization. Reading is basically how well you can look at the notes and recall and recognize the rhythm immediately. Memorization is how well you can, through some replays, memorize the patterns that you cannot read at first. This map should provide a fair amount of both, and in a kind of simple way.
Rhythm-wise, this map's not super difficult to understand, but of course, especially if you're new to SV, these type of bombs can be really tricky, and my only advice in SV is to just constantly keep on playing. If you want to, you can also look in the editor to try to scan through the rhythm in general, if you're comfortable with it.
Also, you should at least for this replay, I intentionally choke on the harder parts of the map, so you should pay more attention to the parts where I drop a bad judgment, because it usually indicates that there is something kind of unintuitive. For example, this miss that I just got, you can see there's a very long stop. It does not feel readable. It's a deceiving element. You have to memorize it completely.
When
Yeah,
I actually do miss that, because that was like it was a common part, and that's 1 or 2 entries. Yeah, it's harder to predict that.
Like the main difficulty of SV is the fact that it's sometimes it might not be very predictable for you to know when to hit the note at the correct timing, and that's where you have to try to maybe memorize or maybe remember that rhythm of the song or of the map itself. And if you're as hardworking enough, you can try to memorize the entire map, but mostly it's get the rhythm in your mind and get a pretty good accuracy. That's all you're trying to get. If the first couple of tries it might be pretty bad, it might be a B rank, it might be an A rank, but over time I believe everyone can get a pretty solid score here. So best of luck on this map. This is stage 1. Let's move on to stage 2, which would be our more physical picks now instead of SV. So there's no little bit of speed bumps you see in stage 1. We only see plain notes or L1s. L1s mean long notes, by the way. So yeah, this is gonna be our first rice 1 pick. Rice means regular notes, just regular notes.
Rice it represents grains of rice. It's small and kind of like a very long, thin oval. So it's rice. That's the definition. It's just funny.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for the instructions for the SV and the buttons very clear. And we should move to the rice too.
This will be, I believe, your stream-based consistency pick. There will be some mixed elements, but it's mostly 168 BPM streams.
Yep. It's a very fairly straightforward map, but of course the main difficulty being the fact that this map is actually quite fast and dense. A lot of doubles and triples in play throughout the entire map, mostly doubles and of course single note streams, which combined can drain your stamina quite a bit, especially in the middle part that we are going to go into in a little bit. And here we go, a first difficult section with some doubles and single streams all over the place.
I think this is the point where jump streams start to become more prevalent, in much lower ranges, like round 32 maybe. It will be single streams, that's the main dish, because it's much simpler. But in qualifiers, it's around round 16 quarterfinals. It's a bit harder than the first few stages. So doubles will be more mainstream as a way to test your chord-based coordination and increase the physicality of the map while not being too finger control heavy. Single streams are actually a very tricky pattern as you scale up the speed, so doubles are a much better alternative. for this kind of simplistic pattern.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different dynamic of streams that you need to be careful on hitting. If you do mess up a little bit, that's accuracy gone in your side. So definitely need that consistency in your hands, trying to be able to understand that rhythm and streams throughout the entire song. There's some of these little streams. This part is a relatively easier part, but we will move on to another big drum stream part in a little bit once again. This map has around 1.5K notes. So, you know, it is a pretty stamina or draining map, I would say, even though there was a little bit of a break part in that one section there. And here we go. These streams feel endless, by the way. There's a lot of doubles constantly throwing at you, and you know, adding up that density, you need to keep up that consistency and stamina that you want. If not, it can be a really bad accuracy drop or even misses, which is, of course, not a good sign.
Very much hoping that this is not too threatening because it does feel pretty heavy for qualifiers. I guess people are just that strong already.
Yeah, best of luck. I mean, if you're comfortable with the BPM and the speed, you can get a pretty good score at this, but of course, whether or not you can handle that extreme density of drum streams is up to you. Best of luck though. Let's take a look at stage 3. This map's Amora's map by Envily, and we have stage 3. We have a Chameleon song.
Who mapped this? Hold on.
It's
Really
mapped by yours truly, and this map's gonna be our more technical rice pick, and it's also gonna be generally more difficult.
To those who don't understand what technical means, it means a map that's more irregular in its rhythms, its patterns, how you move your fingers in general. In the last stage, you can see that the rhythm and the movement is very constant. There is barely any changes in how your finger flows, and the tempo is very constant. It's just 168 BPMs jump streams. Here it's going to be a lot more varied. You should probably play the replay now so the players can get what I mean.
Star rating does look a little bit lower, but trust me, this map's definitely much more tricky to get good accuracy early. As you can see, there's a lot of these what we call graces, so which means they're just doubles, but one note is like ever so slightly later.
It's like 2 to 4 notes of extremely fast succession. So it's like delayed by a little bit, just a very little bit. However, if the delay becomes too much, then you cannot really do it as a grace. Instead, we'll call them bursts instead, because you have to keep a more coordinated, constant motion. But it's still a broken motion instead of the continuous motion in stage 2. You can see here there are a lot of rhythm changes. 1-4, 1-6, some 1-2 gaps as well. And these trills as well. At 180, this is no joke to manage.
And yeah, we're gonna move on to our main ki section now. I mapped this with mainly 1-6 bursts, each big of those like little vocal things. And generally, the rest is mainly 1-4 stream bursts.
I do want to mention, if anyone is from piano music theory, 1/4 in Osu Mania, and just 1/4 in Osu means 1/16 in music theory. So our snaps are 4 times more than piano theory, music theory.
Okay, that was a 1-5 stream, by the way.
Whoops.
Yeah, which is... There's a little bit of complexity in snapping in that in 1 or 2 bursts that I made. This app's pretty crazy. The map is not as long, and with that final 1-5 burst, that's gonna be stage 3.
kind of makes you lose track of your rhythm. So you gotta pay very close attention to where the notes are.
Yeah, it's like you have to practice enough to understand that one burst and stream rhythm. And if not, it can be you can be either overstreaming or understreaming. You can be hitting too fast or too slow. It's quite difficult to get a good grasp on when to hit them accurately, and that's mainly the big challenge of a technical / mixed rice pick. But yeah, that's gonna be this future cut version stage 3 map by me. But yeah, let's take a look at.
I do wanna
Oh.
mention, don't over practice. If you're prone to mind blocking, do not over practice. Mind blocking means when you try to hit a pattern, but you hit it badly, and then that bad execution gets ingrained into your muscle memory. And because it's muscle memory, you keep doing it badly, just like when you did it first time. It
Oh,
tends to
yeah.
happen when you practice too much and you get paranoid about that one pattern you cannot play well.
Yeah, sometimes it happens to the best of us as well. So practice, but don't like retry spam it, I guess. But yeah, that is gonna be stage 3. Let's take a look at the 4th stage.
This one is Noah's Deadly Forest, mapped by Snow Replay, also by Snow, or Snow Woe.
Yeah, let's take a look. This is gonna be our hybrid map. Hybrid means having a mix of rice notes and long notes, which it's gonna be a more flavorful map, I would say. You don't just see regular notes now. You see a more of a mix of long notes being in play. So it's gonna come down to some release factor of the players. Like if the players cannot release, this can be really bad. But already, as you can see, these L1s are gonna be that main difficulty of this map.
This map at 150 BPM is going to have a little bit more emphasis on L1s because they're more apparent. They just have more difficulty to it. In these kinds of like low speed, you have to hold the LNs. You see those 1/4 LNs, you still have to hold it. You cannot just like tap and release it. So with like per 250 BPM, for example, that's the kind of interesting mechanic only in these newbie tournaments. You have to hold every LN properly.
There's that release factor that you need to be careful of, and especially for newer tournament players. In Score V2, releasing a LN or a long note is its own judgment. If you didn't know, Score V1 counts an entire LN as one judgment, even though the combo keeps on going, but it's still one judgment. On Score V2, long notes are accounted for both hitting and releasing on its own. So you hit the note, that's one judgment, and when you release it, that's another judgment. Which actually makes hitting L1s much more difficult because you have to care about releasing correctly. If not, in Score V1, if you release too late, it's kind of compensated by the fact that you hit the note, the head of the LN pretty well, but on V2 it's different. And you have to release on time every single time, or else that's a free accuracy drop.
Yeah, this map is pretty difficult because you have basically dense jump streams going on while you still have to hold LNs. So it gets very overwhelming. You have to manage the complex jump streams while still holding the LNs. It's pretty difficult.
Yeah, this map is like both physicals and finger controls. Like in this 150 BPM, you can just press the LN like just a right note. Even like if you have a Percy skin, if you don't know it, so it is a skin that's shorter your LNs, But even when you play an Evan Percy skin, it will be a bit hard if you just don't know how to release properly.
My suggestion is I think you should try to get the fundamentals down first before you use a Percy skin or a cut LN skin, because it can mess with your reading and you will have pretty bad LN accuracy later on.
Yeah, that's true. Percy is something that's like more. I mean, I should say less fundamental. Maybe it's more like applicable in later stages when you play the game.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's still gonna come down to the players' release ability. That's basically hybrid. Let's take a look at Stage 5. This is Deadly Force map by Stowe, and Stage 5 would be Daft map by
And who map
you.
this? Yeah, who map this?
I don't know.
Oh hell nah. Who invited this guy?
No.
We have Stage 5, Daft map by the Czar. Let's go. I believe this is going to be another hybrid pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be a hybrid text map.
So yeah, it's going to be a technical hybrid. Basically equivalent of stage 3, but with more LNs to it.
Yeah, let's take a look. It's going to be interesting because tech mixed with LNs are always so interesting to me.
Yeah. This BPM is also 110, so it covers a missing gap in the Mappool so far. There hasn't been a lot of jacks yet. This will be testing some slightly slow jacks.
And a little bit of these like the 1.6 or stream burst that just makes the map a little bit more difficult to be able to get a good grasp when trying to get good accuracy on. And with some of those L1s mixed in together, while having to focus on these complex rhythm streams, and you have to be able to release these L1s, it's gonna be very difficult to manage your accuracy consistently, and maybe even dropping a miss in these little poly or swing rhythm stuff.
These releases are really hard to hit accurately. I think my suggestion for this stage is to just vibe with the notes instead of trying to rigidly hit everything accurately. Because it's very smooth, it's not like it's intentionally awkward, but you still have to vibe with the notes first. It's a bit RNG, I'll just say that, but I think it's fun. It's still fun despite everything.
Yeah. Actually, I have to admit, like this might be like 2 or 3, 4 days, but I have to like 1 or 2 weeks to just find this song to map. It's a really good BPM and good song, so I can mix a lot of patterns like this mini jacks and burst.
There's a lot of interesting bursts going on with these. Again, there's some short L1s mixed within these patterns as well, which, if you didn't know, short L1s are actually quite a pain to deal with because you have to hit and release quickly, but not too quick to the fact that you have to, like hit for just like a very short period of time before releasing, which is probably one of the most difficult and not beginner friendly stuff you can see in this map pool. It's those short L1s.
I think the LNs here are very release focused, so you have to like flow instead of rigidly release. However, this rigidity will be tested in the next stage, which contrasts directly with this one in terms of LN design. We are missing one LN slot, so let's move on to it right now. This is going to be one more Popy map. This is Kotoha's Sekai.
This map is going to be our long note based pick, which means most of the notes are going to be LNs. It's not going to be all of them, but like the main difficulty is fully on the LN side, which makes the map quite not beginner friendly, I would say. Because again, with what I said on the score V2 gimmick, where releases are much different than Score V1. Compare when you have a map full of LNs, this is gonna be, it's gonna be tough. But let's take a look.
The main spice of LN is finger control, and this will be felt very clearly in this map, where the LNs are much longer and often features multiple hold nodes, so you have to time each node individually and not be distracted by the release of one LN. Sometimes you may accidentally release both LNs at the same time, while it's supposed to be a singular release, which is the main annoyance of these LN coordination patterns.
LN coordination means you have to focus really hard on trying to release on time. There's a little bit of a 1/1 section here. It's a kind of a break part, but you still have to be careful on these little 1/3 LNs. So we're gonna move on to our main key, which is gonna be some more double LNs around the entire map. There's not too many punishing short LNs or big LNs you have to be really focused on. There's some rice nodes just as some breathing room for you to hold on. But as you can see, that one LN stream there is gonna be a killer for a lot of players, I would assume. This map has a lot of LN and release factor that you need to be careful of, and without much caution, you can drop a lot of 200s that can really ruin your accuracy. And that's usually what LN pick is about. If you can't release well, your act kinda just die. Quite frankly.
LN is a really easy skill to learn though, and it doesn't demand a lot of physicality. So you don't have to be a monkey to play LN. You just gotta practice a bit, and perhaps you nail the releases.
Yeah. Just a full test of release skill. Even more than Hybrid 1 and Hybrid 2 or Stage 4 and Stage 5. But yeah.
Yeah, some tournament staff may think that this is a bit density focused, but I would argue otherwise because of the slow BPM. All the so-called short gaps become pretty noticeable and you have to release it properly. For those of you who don't know what density is, at higher levels of competitive play, LN can become physical because you have to hold for long periods of time, and that can make you feel tired. That's the point of LN density picks. They're dense and therefore can kill your stamina. But this is not the case here. You still gotta learn your fundamentals first.
Yeah, not
Actually,
a...
sorry. Yeah, so actually this map is more a bit wildcards open densities and coordinations in which only have one LN slot. Yeah, because on the later rounds we just only have 1 or 2 LN maps per round, and hybrid will be 3 or 4 picks. Yeah, because hybrid is more friendly for new players.
Right, absolutely. LNs will not be the main thing in the future rounds. This is our, again, qualifier round, so like the Mappool system or the Mappool layout itself is much different compared to when we enter the bracket stages. So basically what's gonna happen is players would have to, or rather teams would have to assign themselves a schedule to play in the following week, and they're given 2 attempts, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they're given 2 attempts on each stage, so you'll play a total of 12 times. And you know, the higher team score that you get would be the one taken to determine your seedings. And seedings means what, you know, just basically what skill or what level you're at compared to other teams. It's bracket stage shenanigans.
Yeah, basically, if you do well, you get a higher seed. But a higher seed is a lower number. So seed 1 is better than seed 16, for example, because 1 is smaller than 16. It's like first place, second place, third place. If you get what I mean.
One more complex idea is that the higher seed you get, the lower seed you would face in the following round. So basically, other than the fact that you want to qualify, which you need to be top 32 seed to qualify, and a seed 1 would face seed 32, and then seed 2 would face seed 31, seed 3 would face seed 30, and so on. That's basically the idea of seedings.
So basically, the stronger team have a higher chance to win and move on, and the lower seed are supposed to lose as fast as possible according to their seed.
But you know, if the lower seeds are proven to be actually better than what they actually want to be, or better than what they actually are,
Then they
there
move on.
can be seed upsets. That's basically the idea.
Lower seeds have a much bigger challenge, but if they pass that challenge, then so be it. Congratulations, you are strong, you are worthy.
That's basically the idea of qualifiers, and then a bracket stage. And each round there's gonna be a new map pool, so this one's just gonna be the qualifiers one. So stay tuned for the next Mappool showcase. There's not gonna be streams for qualifiers matches or lobbies, so
Yeah.
it's just gonna be.
Some people can manipulate the seed based on the results of other teams. It actually happened in very old years, so they kind of just discouraged streaming qualifiers lobbies entirely.
Yeah. And then it's gonna be the stream for round of 32 map pool, and then it's gonna be streams for the round of 32 matches. That's basically like what's gonna happen in like 1 and 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just as a heads up, I guess.
So qualifiers will happen in this week. In the weekend, you will play in the lobby you chose. Remember to schedule your lobbies, by the way. I think it's in the scheduling channel, yes. After you scheduled your lobby, you would just wait until the time and then you play, your team plays. And if you pass, you will go on to the bracket stages. Each week will be one stage, and at the start of the week, there will be a Mappool showcase like this one. At the weekend, there will be streams for the matches because it's entertaining to see people fighting against each other.
Oh yeah, of course. It's always the most exciting part.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it. Hope every single player enjoy this tournament. Of course, there are prizes, but the first thing to note is enjoy the game.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be immediate enjoyment. It can be enjoyment from practicing the long notes as well, and the SVs, of course. I think nailing the movement and the memorized patterns are really satisfying once you feel the domination throughout the match.
Yeah. It's up to the players. Just best of luck to them as well. We expect the best from you guys. Get it done, get a good score, get some nice solid scores, get that one moment of happiness of getting a personal best in lobby. Always feels good. Yeah, that's gonna be the stream today. Again, best of luck to players. I said this like 50 times already, but yeah.
You need it. You need that luck.
Yeah, let's just say that you definitely do.
Yeah. Enjoy and good luck once again. Thank you for joining the stream, and good luck once again.
Alright.
Yes, once again, good luck to all players.
Well, what can we say? It's just good luck, good luck, good luck, good luck, and goodbye.
Yeah, say it 50 times.
You can
No.
do it.